The all-new 22 Civic, now on sale at Team Honda on Siegen Lane.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hello and welcome as we start today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Here's hoping that all is absolutely fabulous with you and yours in your world. Since the last opportunity we had to spend a little time with you, roughly some 24 hours ago. The horrific, troubling, and very telling trend in the capital city continues. I hesitate to say unabated, but statistically speaking, it does not bode well. The year 2020 saw us set a new record for homicides in the capital city. And as of this show's airing, we are now 2 murders away from eclipsing last year's record. Conventional wisdom says if we, as we do now, have 134 homicides with over 2 months remaining on the calendar year, it's a fairly safe bet that, like last year, we will set a brand new record for homicides. As troubling as the pure numbers themselves are, we are also in the midst of yet another record-setting year for domestic violence homicides. The latest this week, 19-year-old Shayla James shot in the head while sleeping by her 21-year-old live-in boyfriend, Kenyon Walker. Initially telling law enforcement that he heard a shot, went in and found her dead, but after questioning, eventually admitting that she told him the relationship wasn't working and she wanted to be with someone else. The 21-year-old then waited until she fell asleep and murdered her with a handgun. It is the 28th domestic violence-related homicide in Baton Rouge this year. It is, according to our district attorney, Hiller Moore, one of those crimes where we now see no categorization as far as age, race, ethnicity, political affiliation, what have you. It's happening in all races, creeds, colors, and age ranges. I understand, y'all, that I am old school. Let me make that distinction there. But as a guy that grew up in the South, a guy that had instilled early in life love of God, country, and my fellow man, it is particularly painful to watch the number of domestic violence homicides. Even sadder, well, sadly, still, I should say, this 19-year-old was a student at Southern University, looking to do nothing more than become a productive citizen, a better person, increase her knowledge, hopefully wisdom, and simply be a productive citizen. Now, a 19-year-old college student has had her life snuffed out, and the 21-year-old responsible for this heinous act is facing a charge of second-degree murder. Let me refresh your memory, if I may. In our state, second-degree murder carries a penalty of mandatory life imprisonment. No probation, no pardon, no parole. It is mandatory in this state. So once again, we see a young life snuffed out for no good reason other than our relationship isn't working. And we also see a perpetrator at 19 years of age whose life, natural life, will be spent behind bars. I would venture to say I'll be glad when this year comes to an end. But a lot of us said that in 2020, thinking the end of the insanity, the madness would end, and we would hopefully start the new year on a much brighter note. Sadly, that has not been the case in any way, shape, or form. You know, as the DA pointed out, the overwhelming majority of these crimes are preventable. In most cases, we're not talking stranger on stranger homicide, meaning in most cases the individuals knew one another, were familiar with one another. And quite frankly, if you were to ask, in most of these cases, there were warning signs, there were red flags, there were troubling instances leading up to these things. And many times, all it would have taken to stop it would have been someone that cared to sit down and spend some time with the perpetrator. Yet 2 more brand new records. And you know, as a Louisianian, and listen, I get it, I have been guilty on more than one occasion of wearing my Louisiana on my shoulders. I am who I am. I love my state. I love its people. I can't help that. I'm not going to apologize for that. It is what it is. But it is so very painful to watch when you know that we are so very capable of doing better. It's going to take all of us, y'all. At the end of the day, I don't care where you live, what your skin color is, what your political affiliation may happen to be. If it is not affecting you now, as the old folk used to tell us, just keep breathing. Because coming soon to a neighborhood near you, if we don't collectively, together, step up to the plate and do what needs to be done to stem this very ugly tide. It is, of course, the time of year where if you are a college football fan or just a college grad or ever attended college, you typically take the time to celebrate homecoming and all the festivities involved there. Unfortunately, speaking of violence, we had a shooting on the campus of Southern University recently. And as a result, in the interest of safety, the university announcing that they are ramping up security for this week's homecoming festivities. The trend in this and the two shootings at Grambling State University, neither involved students enrolled in the school. It is, as the case is so oftentimes, individuals come on campus from off campus with nothing on their minds other than something outside the learning process or becoming a better person. But now what Southern has done is probably going to be a little bit of an inconvenience, but in the interest of safety, they are of the opinion it's the best thing to do. There will be checkpoints. As a matter of fact, security will be doubled at checkpoints. And every individual coming on campus will have to present an ID of some sort. Student ID, employee ID, driver's license, etc., etc. The Corporal Marcus Brown, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Marquise Brown, says, quote, "When we're checking the IDs, we want to be able to identify you, the person in the vehicle. So if something happens, everything is documented. That way we have a track record who was on or off campus at this time, the vehicle they were riding in, who they were with, and where they were headed to in that direction." The school, by the way, will also be throwing out their normal visitation policy this week. No one will be allowed on campus after 5 p.m. unless you are a student, a member of the faculty, or on official business, such as delivering food to a dormitory, the fast food outlets, what have you. It is a classic example of a couple knuckleheads ruining a good situation for everybody else. It is, the old folk used to tell us, sometimes the good have to suffer for the bad. Now, that is what that is. But for those of us who know who the bad ones are, it's our duty, y'all. You want a safer community? You want a better place to live? Well, you got to do your duty. Report these clowns to the police. Let them know who's doing what. And once we can get them off our streets, then all of us will be able to breathe a lot easier and live better and more comfortable lives. You know, it says something to me that all these many years later, I still have to say something of this nature. Of course, I guess the option is to let things continue as is. I don't know about you, but as long as I have a breath left in my body, I'll never stop trying to have our communities be better places to live. Blame it on my dad. Sarge, it's your fault for raising me right. What can I say? First break of today's show. When we come back, I want to give you the heads up on something you might have in your home that might end up leaving you sick. As a matter of fact, Our fellow Americans in 37 states are suffering from it as we speak. That's up next when we continue today's edition of the Clarence Bugg Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystonecountryClub.com.
Go where summer leads you in an award-winning Mazda CUV. Find yours during Mazda's season of discovery.
Call, click, or come by and discover your new Mazda today at Baton Rouge's Mazda dealer, Team Mazda on Airline.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Bugg Show. I don't know how many of you watching right now are aware of a salmonella outbreak that has swept the country. As of this time, cases have been reported in 37 states across the country. And the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have been engaged in attempting to ascertain the nature of the outbreak. Where is it coming from? What caused it? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, they now think they may have found the source for this salmonella outbreak. And as a result, they are asking you and I, any unlabeled onions that you have at your home, if they don't have a label on them, whether they are red, white, or yellow, discard them, throw them away. The reason is, and in addition to throwing those away that are unlabeled, if you have any with a label from the name ProServe, definitely throw them away. As a matter of fact, if you have any ProSource incorporated onions in your home, anything that they've touched, disinfect it. If it's in the container, in the vegetable bin, in the refrigerator, wash it out, put it in the dishwasher. if you have one, otherwise disinfect it. The reason is, according to the CDC, they are of the opinion this is where the outbreak has stemmed from. And of course, the problem is when you're talking something like onions, you and I can go to the house and immediately go through the vegetable bin, look at the onions. Okay, if they're still in the mesh bag where you got it from, I'm looking for the name ProSource. If that's on there, I know I have to get rid of it. But probably, well, not probably, I can say with all certainty, any and every self-respecting restaurant in the entire state of Louisiana, pretty much the majority of the dishes on the menu start with what we Cajun and Creole folk call the Holy Trinity. I mean, you've got onions, celery, bell pepper. It starts with that, whatever it is you're cooking. So the possibility that you can consume some of these bad onions outside of your home in a restaurant setting is pretty good. As a matter of fact, I was just talking this morning with a valued member of our staff who last week, all of a sudden, both he and his wife, diarrhea, fever, dehydration, which are the symptoms of salmonella poisoning, they all went through the same thing. And he's the guy that can't stand onions, so he's like, well, it probably wasn't that. I said, but wait a minute now, if you ate food from a restaurant, it probably had some onions in it. And of course, his symptoms mimicked exactly what the CDC is warning us about. Again, the name is ProSource Incorporated. They were imported from Chihuahua, Mexico, and distributed to restaurants and grocery stores all across the country. And of course, as you well know, onions have such a long shelf life that they could still be in some stores. So be advised, guys, girls, the word to the wise is supposed to be sufficient. So far, according to the CDC, at least 652 people have been sickened, ranging in age from 1 year to 97 years old. And of course, salmonella poisoning, food poisoning, is one of those things that typically most people that get it, they get over it, but they never report it. So while there are 652 documented cases so far, in all likelihood there are thousands and thousands and thousands more that have contracted it and just simply didn't report it. So, once again, word to the wise for most should be sufficient. And speaking of food and word to the wise, if you've been keeping an eye on the supply chain crisis plaguing our country, you do realize that the holidays are just around the corner, and already grocers are warning, y'all might want to get that ham and that turkey as early as possible, because there is the distinct possibility we're going to run out. According to Sam Angus, grocery store magnate, quote, stocks are low and it's going to go fast, because every time I put a ham out at a regular price, people immediately snap them up. They're scarce, so please get out and start shopping now. It is something that, with a little bit of foresight, you had to know was coming. I mean, when we are talking holiday shopping, holiday food, it typically puts a strain on the supply chain under the best of circumstances. With this current administration and the folly that we're all watching unfold in front of our very eyes, you had to know that this was coming. Here in Louisiana, holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, everything centers around food. And you know what we do as Louisianians, the week of, we start looking at the circulars, looking at the sales, and make that menu out and go out and do the shopping. You might be in for a little bit of a rude awakening. Now listen, y'all, listen, don't get it twisted. I'm not telling you to rush the grocery store today and go buy everything that you have to buy for both Christmas and Thanksgiving. Not saying that. But in between now and then, whenever you make a trip to the grocery store, might not be a bad idea to go ahead and start picking up some of those items ahead of time. If you do that, the likelihood of you missing out is greatly diminished. And on top of that, the prices are probably going to be lower. I mean, you know, basic supply side economics, supply and demand, the greater the demand, the more you can ask as far as the price is concerned. So, again, word to the wise is supposed to be sufficient. Start that shopping ahead of time. And that's just for food. The big story has been about toys, electronics, what's going to be tough to get. But conventional wisdom says the supply chain affects everything. We're talking furniture, food, toys, electronics, you name it. If you bought it, a truck brought it. It's got to be offloaded off the ship. It's got to be put on a train, got to be put on a truck and sent to the store so you can buy it. So this is not, unfortunately, going to go away anytime soon. And under ideal circumstances, we could hope that this problem would disappear as soon as humanly possible. With the people we have in charge right now, God only knows how long this is going to drag out. As a matter of fact, more and more economists, more and more of the so-called experts are telling us we could be facing supply chain issues into 2023. Wouldn't be surprised. Right now, the trucking industry saying we need about 80,000 truck drivers to get back to full strength. Now, under normal circumstances, that 80,000, you may have, I don't know, this is a rough guess, 20, 25, 30,000 that had retired or were working part-time. They could step up and fill the void in a crunch. But typically, you're talking a year to 18 months to get an individual up to speed, acquire the necessary certification, safety protocols, etc., before they are in the pipeline and actively working. All that being said, get used to it, y'all. Get used to it. It is a sad reality of what we are dealing with in this country. Oh, and it just occurred to me, aside from, quote, getting used to it, get on the computer, send some emails, get on the horn, make some phone calls. I know I'm going to say how old I am when I say it, but that's okay. I don't mind it. Write a lot of letters and send it to our elected representation in Washington, D.C. and let them know, despite what they might try to make us believe and despite the bubble they live in, we expect better. We demand better. And if we don't get it, they're going to be the next ones to go. Just saying. Bottom of the hour break. We'll get it done. Come back and talk more with you. right where you've got it on today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Caught spiders? Premier Pest Services.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. You know, as a member of the media, it is particularly troubling watching what I equate, having grown up in a military household, dereliction of duty. We have watched the media in this country become what was once a trusted institution morph into a propaganda arm for political parties. And listen, I get it. I understand. How many times have you heard me say, the American public has the attention span of a gnat? You ever watch a gnat? You mess around and you let one in the house, it gets in the kitchen, and that darn thing will fly around and it'll land on something, stay there for a couple seconds, and then it flits off to something else, stays there a couple of seconds, then it's off to something else. That's how we are as Americans, particularly when it comes to the media and the news cycle. If you didn't know any better, you would have to think that every single American that was in Afghanistan has been rescued and transported home. You would have to think all is well with every American who was ever in Afghanistan, because after all, you don't hear anything about it anymore. And a thinking person would have to say, if there are Americans still trapped in Afghanistan, wouldn't the current administration and the media let us know? Thanks for playing. Please come again. But wrong answer. Remember I told you about two and a half weeks ago about the 38 students in the state of California that were still stranded in Afghanistan? Remember that? Well, this week, a local NBC affiliate in Connecticut reports 43 Connecticut residents are still stranded in Afghanistan. Quote, their school teachers are calling me, asking me, where are the students? The 10-year-old student from New Haven, Connecticut, who is stuck in Kabul, is sending me voice messages. This is a quote attributed to Chris George, the executive director of IRIS. He's talking about some of the 43 Connecticut residents still stuck in Afghanistan. Quote, they're running out of food, and yes, they're running out of hope. You know, if nothing else, one of the things we used to be able to pride ourselves on in this country, one of the many things that we could say at the end of the day, I don't care what happened with this, I don't care what happened with that, I don't care what happened with the other. One thing I know for sure, we don't leave Americans behind. Regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstance, I don't care what happens. We get our people out and we take care of our own. What is particularly troubling, conventional wisdom says, if there are 38 students from California, we now find out there are 48 in Connecticut. That's 81. Can you imagine how many there actually are still there? Sadly, you can't ask our government how many Americans, how many of my fellow citizens are still stuck, stranded in Afghanistan. They can't tell you. Why? Because they don't know. And yet, they want you to believe that they're looking out for your best interests. You better not set foot outside this country, house, not someplace where there is the possibility that something could go wrong. Because if you're banking on the Biden-Harris administration to get you out of a hot spot, a trouble spot, because you're an American, well, good luck with that, Captain. Just don't say we didn't tell you. If you are one of the 17 Christian missionaries being held hostage in Haiti, I love you because you're a Christian. God knows I love you because you're an American, but you on your own, hoss. Just saying. Based on past experience, what we just watched happen in Afghanistan, and we now find out is still going on, I wouldn't have a whole lot of faith that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris is going to come riding to the rescue. I'm just telling it like it is, y'all. Pure and simple. I've been doing this too long to even think about doing it any other way. Now, if you got a problem with what you hear me say, like I tell you all the time, your problem is not with me, your problem is with the truth. And when you have a problem with the truth, you need to go have a conversation with that person in the mirror, not me. Meanwhile, after we find out that there are 38 Californians still stranded in Afghanistan, there are 43 Connecticut citizens still stranded in Afghanistan, the State Department, whom most of us would think are the ones in charge of getting our people out, they should be, you know, taking care of the negotiations. They should be working in conjunction with intelligence agencies to find out where they are, who they are, what the circumstances are, what we need to do to get them out. You know, the usual stuff that government is supposed to do. While all this is going on, what did the State Department find time to do yesterday? Well, since you ask, I'll give you the answer. Yesterday, the illustrious State Department spent time tweeting recognition of, wait for it, International Pronoun Day. It might be funny if it weren't so freaking stupid. They're spending time while Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, while Christian American missionaries are being held at gunpoint in Haiti. They're spending time tweeting out on social media recognition of International Pronouns Day. At some point, y'all, you keep hoping that the adults in Washington will take control. Sadly, while we're waiting, many of us, with every passing day, are becoming of the opinion there are no adults in Washington. I'm talking, you don't have to be Einstein, you don't have to be a high schooler to do a better job than this. When you've got a guy in charge of transportation issues for the entire freaking country, has been on the job 6 months, Pete Buttigieg, been on the job 6 months and takes off for 8 weeks. Now, you know, in most businesses, probably where you work, where you used to work before you retired, whatever. If somebody's going to be out for an extended period of time, what would the boss do? Well, you call a meeting and, okay, look, I'm going to be out such and such a period of time. Joe here is going to be in charge. He's going to be running things. We've assembled a team behind him. Whatever you need, you go there, they'll get you taken care of. Business will continue to run smoothly. The White House this week announced, well, see, what had happened was they didn't leave anybody in charge. There's no point person appointed by this administration. And we wonder why the supply chain shortage crisis has only gotten worse. Funny how that works, isn't it? Final break of today's show. We'll get her done, come back, put that big old pretty bow on this puppy, and wrap up today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
You can't smell it, but you can almost taste it. And whether it's for a family get-together or a game day feast, having Manda in the mix always sounds good. For 3 generations, their quality meats and original seasonings have made Manda a Louisiana legend and made their family sausage Louisiana's family sausage. Manda Fine Meats. The flavor says it all.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
Tremonti's has meat, Tremonti's has seafood, Tremonti's has much more. Tailgating and home gating platters, huge wine and liquor selection, beer and all the spices you need, Chairman Reserve and Wagyu meats, ribeye rolls, shrimp rolls, kebabs, 20 flavors of sausage for the grill, daily lunch specials and game processing, on-site catering also available. Good meat ain't cheap and cheap meat ain't good. Visit Tremonti's.com.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private Healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready. And health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Welcome back to the final segment of today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. You know, if you are an American of any age or life experience, you know that polls are a part of everyday life. Not P-O-L-E-S, but P-O-L-L-S, gauging the opinions of our fellow Americans. One of the longest running polling organizations, and I will leave to you to decide whether they are one of the most respected or not, is Rasmussen. I have been in this business for 41 years now, and Rasmussen has been there for the whole ride, along with, I don't know, Harris Polling, Rasmussen, you know, the long-running ones. Rasmussen polled 1,000 U.S. voters this week, and the numbers were stunning. Now, let me say for the record, in my lifetime, because of the ever-increasing polarization, politicization, and partisan nature of politics, a lot of people are of the opinion, well, Clarence, you can make a poll say pretty much anything you want it to say. It just depends on how you ask the question. And again, I will leave to you to decide how much validity there is to that train of thought. However, this week, the Rasmussen Polling Organization asked 1,000 Americans this question: how confident are you that Joe Biden is physically and mentally up to the job of being president of the United States? Pretty simple, straightforward question. I'll repeat it again. How confident are you that Joe Biden is physically and mentally up to the job of being president of the United States? An amazing 58% of my fellow Americans said this guy physically and mentally is not up to the job. Now, I understand we've become so partisan when it comes to politics. Many of us will express an opinion that we know is driven purely by politics. We will give an answer to our friends, our co-workers, strangers, whomever, that we know in our heart of hearts is driven by whether or not we like the person, not whether or not the person's actually doing a good job. Okay? I understand that. But when you're talking about the leader of the free world, to not have the majority of the people who live in this country believe, and you know, it's one thing to not physically be up to the job. It is something else entirely to not mentally be up to the job. And of course, any thinking individual at some point in what I call the logical progression question, you start at a certain point, and the logical question you would ask brings you to the next point, and that point leads you to ask another logical question, and you go through the logical progression of questions. A thinking person would have to ask, if this guy is not mentally up to the challenge, then who's actually calling the shots? If he is not up mentally to being the leader of the free world, then who's actually making the decisions? Now, you know, some of y'all may be comfortable with the government where you don't really know who's in charge. Some of you may be comfortable having a government that's run by a guy that the majority of people in this country don't think is mentally up to the challenge. Some of y'all might be okay with having a guy in the White House that will make policy and then tell us about it, and when he's finished telling us about it, he refuses or is incapable of answering questions about it. I would buy a ticket to go back in time when I was working in my family's grocery store, and I did something, made a decision, made a move, and it caused some consternation in the family. And my father, Sarge, would come to me and say, Ramel, my middle name, which family calls me, Rome, called me for short. Why'd you make that decision? Why'd you make that move? And I turned my back and walk away. If my late father, God bless him, were judged by today's standards, he probably would have been in Angola. Child protection services, social services, oh, they'd have rounded Sarge up a long time ago, early in life. Because had I made a decision affecting not just the business, but every member of the family, and when he asked me a question about that decision, and I turned my back and walked away, by the time I woke up, after they pulled him off me, it wouldn't be a pretty picture. But here we are, this day, where we've got a guy making decisions that affects every single one of us. Our livelihoods, our wallets, our kids' education, the sanctity of our border, our international standing with other countries around the globe. We've got a guy making decisions on all of these things. And when's the last time he had a press conference to talk with the media and take questions that the American people desperately need answers to? If this is what you voted for, you're the problem. If this is okay with you, you are the problem. If this is not what you voted for, hopefully next time you will make a more informed decision. See, the media will have you believe, oh, people like Clarence, oh, they're right-wing nut jobs. Well, how's that working out for you? Just a question. Just a question. Some of y'all not going to get that till later, but that's okay, long as you get it. That being said, my time's up, y'all, and I got to go. But this day, maybe more so than any other in history, I give it to you. You're right. America, we're not perfect. But for this old boy's money, it's still the best there is. And God knows there's no place else on his green earth that I'd rather be. Speaking of the good Lord, you know he loves you. And I hope you know that I do too. Either way, there ain't a doggone thing you can do about either one. We'll see you soon. God bless.